Hello. There is only one principle that determines whether a person will leave a religious controlling cult or not. And this one principle also determines if people will stay in an abusive situation, domestic violence or anything abusive. Just one principle. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how it was only when I looked back could I see that this one principle was the pivot, the thing that I had changed, which enabled me to escape the religious cult I was trapped in for 22 years. And this is all part of the Cult Escape campaign. I'm narrating chapter 23 here, although I'm summarising it under this old oak tree. And I'm going to cut straight to the chase and tell you what that principle is, in case you don't want to listen to the whole video. And if you want to listen to more after this, me telling you this principle, then I will unpack it all. And the reason being that when I wrote this book, Cult Escape, no, sorry, let me get to the principle first and I'll carry on. You might be busy. The principle is this: a person will leave a cult when their value to escape is stronger than the value to stay. People do what they value most, and this applies, as I say, to domestic violence, to any abusive situation. So as I was writing this book, I thought to myself, the thought came, how can you write a book called Cult Escape and not do a chapter on how to escape a cult? And so I sat down at my computer in a Wetherspoons one afternoon probably, and I had a blank computer screen, and I thought, I have no idea how to tell people to escape. So I wrote the heading anyway, how to escape the cult you're in, and immediately I saw this principle which applies to any situation, which I'm going to unpack. So chapter 23, I'm going to quote some of it as we go on. In this chapter, I use my personal experience from my exclusive Brethren years as a reference for any cult that anyone might want to get free from. Although the escape route I took will probably be different than other people's route, the principles will be the same and could therefore be helpful. I know what it is like to go through the great struggle and pain that leaving a cult can cause. There was a time when I felt like I was a rope in a tug of war. My heart was being wrenched from two different directions, and the best word that I use to describe what it is like is dread. I felt I was totally trapped in my situation with no way out, a place of fear and indecision. What I once was taught and totally believed appeared to be brilliant white light and truth turned out to be what I now see and believe as darkness and a man-made religion. I am aware of how sensitive the subject of leaving a system of control is. I have attempted to write this chapter sensitively, but forgive me if I ever appear clinical or calculating. Sometimes tough decisions have to be made, and we all have different tolerances and speeds that we are comfortable with. I take it very seriously. I am approaching this subject as if it was a matter of life or death. It is, in a way. We can live our life ranging from being free to live and love unconditionally, or we can be restricted and controlled by a man or woman or a system that has managed to incarcerate us in their laws and kill the spirit in us that was meant to live free. So, this principle of how to leave any abusive situation, the principle is simple, as you'll see. The journey may be challenging, but the principle is simple. Most of the challenges are in the mind, where we are threatened with the emotional stress of separation from our loved ones, fear of the unknown future, and beliefs that the situation is hopeless and too complicated. And it's useful to know that. It might give you hope and faith to take the journey, or to explore the journey of getting out of the abusive situation you might be in. And so here that I wrote the principle that a person will leave a cult when their value to escape is stronger than the value to stay. Have you ever been to a Japanese water garden and watched a shishi odoshi? If so, you will have watched bamboo rods fixed to a hinge slowly filling with water until the balance shifts, then whoosh, the water tips out. Have you seen one of them? In life, we only ever do what is most important to us, or that which we value the most. It is therefore values that keep people in a situation that they don't want to be in. Only when you reach a tipping point in your values will you move from your current situation. This is where there is a more powerful reason to leave than to stay. I was shocked when I first realised just how much my values are behind my decisions in my life. Values can be as important to our life as a compass to a ship. When we identify our values and change them if we want to, we can find the necessary motivation and power to make needed massive life-changing decisions instead of living in paralysis under control. This applies not to just being trapped in a cult, but any controlling situation that people find themselves in. Such is the importance of understanding this principle. I shall list 8 characteristics. A value is simply what is important to you. Everything you hold dear to and fight to preserve stems from your own value system. Values are what you stand for, what you believe in, and what you do. Values make you the person you are. Values provide upfront motivation, so our life or death to our potential success in anything. Actions reveal your values because you always act with what is most important and valuable to you at the time. People confused about their values accomplish little. And lastly, conflicting values hold you back and cause stress. And the struggle I went through in 4 years was because I had conflicting values. I was on the fence, I was undecided, and I will talk more about that soon. Generally speaking, we only ever do what our values motivate us to do. Here are some examples of how values can direct a person's life. Many people have a job that they hate, yet the money they need to maintain their lifestyle is a greater value to them than the job they do. Therefore, they set their alarm clock to wake themselves up at 6 o'clock every morning. Those same people who hate their job value the security the money gives them more than even looking for another job that they love. Some people value the feeling food gives them more than being slim. Some people value being slim more than food, which causes them to be aware of what they eat. Some people value their marriage enough to refuse to have an affair when temptation appears. Some people value spending more time with their children than working all hours to pay for a larger house. From every large to every small decision, our life is the manifestation of our values. Values can be the biggest motivator to any decision we make in our life. Values can also change, and when they do, we change. When I first realised that I wanted out at the age of 18, my values to stay in the exclusive brethren were more powerful than my values to leave. What was most important to me was not upsetting my parents and friends and not upsetting my life of relative peace. I was trapped with too many reasons of why to stay. My values to stay controlled my life. I had to have a change of mind if I was to ever escape. This is the key to escaping any abusive situation. We have to have a change of mind. It took me 4 years to get to the tipping point and escape. In those 4 years, my values began to shift with regards to freedom from boredom and control, expressing myself, enjoying things that had been utterly forbidden, like football matches, restaurants and the cinema. I didn't understand that my values had been decided for me and imprinted on my mind through repetition, tradition, indoctrination, culture, fear, and the will of the leader of the exclusive brethren cult. And this is what cults do. They indoctrinate their victims with such belief from all different angles, which trap them and give them values which make them stay. When my value for freedom from exclusive brethrenism became higher than my value for anything else, I changed. I escaped my situation. This powerfully motivated me to take the necessary practical steps to leave, which were to arrange accommodation, install a phone line for my business, and sort out my other needs. I had the motivation now. I want to point out that in that moment, there were still many unanswered questions that remain unanswered for years. However, I wasn't waiting until I understood everything. That's called paralysis. I was aligning to my new values and being true to myself and how I felt. In time, I was to see that it was one of the greatest decisions I have made in my life. Similarly, If your life is being controlled in any way, your values today and every day will decide what you're going to do about it. For example, what value are you putting on the familiarity of your cult life if you're in a cult? The tradition of your peers, the being told what to do, the laws that are supposed to protect you, putting up and shutting up, your always correct interpretation of your holy book, being true to yourself or your limited lifespan, etc. At this point I want to mention what I shall call value perverts. These are lies that can powerfully lock false values in a person's mind, often through indoctrination or brainwashing. These can burrow so deep and be so insidious that many will never ask or even consider their validity. They are usually steeped in tradition and for many are utterly unquestionable. I know this is controversial, but I invite you to just consider the following beliefs that I came to see were just lies. It's a flipping heavy subject, this. Leaving an abusive situation, and it is therefore it can be deep, and this is one of the things I have identified. See what you think. I believed and was indoctrinated to believe that if I leave my cult religion, if I believe the exclusive brethren, I will go to hell, which will be eternal conscious torment. I will definitely be worse off than I am now. There will never be any hope for me ever. I will be an outcast. God will be angry with me and punish me. I will come out from under their spiritual authority and will be in danger. I will be doing the worst thing as I could ever do. I will never find a full and wonderful life outside the religion that I have been married to. These were the beliefs that perverted my mind, that twisted my mind and held me locked for 22 years. And maybe you could relate to some of these deep, insidious fears that you have. Where did they come from? Who gave them to you? Who put them on you? So far this chapter has been majoring on one main point: values. The aim so far has been to show that values are the pivot on which will determine whether we remain in a cultic, controlled, abusive situation or whether we will escape it. The heading is Values Realization Exercise, revealing why you are where you are. There's an exercise you can do to find this out if you want to. I'll tell you about it now. If you're trapped in an abusive, controlling situation, it is because you are trapped in your values. Changing your values changes the priorities of your entire life. If you change your values, you change your destiny. Sitting on the fence over a life-changing decision can be very challenging and stressful. I've mentioned already in this book how my 4 years of indecision felt like I was a rope in a tug of war. I was being pulled hard from both directions at the same time. It took me 4 years to reach my tipping point, and it can take some people a lot longer. The aim of this exercise is twofold. One, to help towards realizing your core values, which reveal the real reason why you are where you are today. And two, to help you come to a place of a clear decision whereby you can move on with your life one way or another. The 21 questions enable you to deeply examine both sides of the issue. Leave the cult or stay. Your free will to choose must be respected. Cults do not respect this. However, love respects choices and does not coerce one way or another. It is your life. What do you want? Find somewhere quiet if you can and ask yourself the following questions and be ruthlessly honest with yourself. Now these questions, there's 21, are on the Cult Escape website, and in the comments, not the comments, in the below this video, not instructions, what's it called? Anyway, I'll put the link to this chapter where you can read the 21 questions. If you want, you can stop this video now, go to the website and do them, or I'm just going to quickly go down what the 21 are anyway and then continue. So these questions elicit what your values are. Number 1, what do you value most about staying? 2, what do you value most about leaving? 3, what 5 things might you be missing out on if you leave? Write them down. 4. What 5 things might you be missing out on if you stay and do nothing? Number 6. 5, sorry. What will it cost you to leave? 6. What will it cost you to stay? 7. What benefit would it give you by staying? 7. What benefit would it give you by leaving? 8, 9. Sorry, I'm getting these numbers mixed up. What will change in other areas of your life if you leave? 10. What will stay the same if you stay? 11. If you were to leave, how much would the condemnation of the cult bother you? 12. How much should you value their condemnation? 13. How much are you basing your decision to stay on how others think or feel about you? 14. How much do you value making the most of the remaining years that you have left in your life? You know, my epiphany moment, just digressing here, was when I realised it was on my 22nd birthday. So in 10 years' time, I'm going to be 32. And I'm going to have another 10 years of misery, another 10 years of this control. And at that moment, I thought, no. I'm not having another 10 years. I'm out of here. And that was my big turning point when my values shifted. Number 15, how important to you is obeying a system that intends to keep you under its control through its laws and rules? 16, how much do you value the adventure of going into the unknown, the excitement of exploring life free from cultic law that you've been under? 17, how do you feel about staying where you are so that you can continue the same relationship with family and friends? That's a big one. 18, how does leaving, and by your example, family and friends might also leave in time, how does that sound to you? 19, what 3 reasons are most important to you that would make you want to stay where you are? What 3 reasons? And number 20, what 3 reasons are most important to you that would make you want to leave where you are? These questions lead to this one final question, number 21. What 1 reason of highest value to you would tip you into making a total commitment to yourself right now, one way or another? If you have one, do you have one? That was number 21. By asking yourself these 21 questions, you will have been feeling and realizing your values. Those things that are important to you. They have been the motivations in your life so far. They are why you are where you are right now. Most people have values that motivate them to leave, whilst at the same time have values that motivate them to remain where they are. That's why it took me 4 years to leave. This is a conflict of values, and they can block a person from moving forward freely. In the 4 years that I was struggling about wanting to leave, the conflict of values caused me the unhappiness that comes from indecision or double-mindedness. The pain of this unhappiness eventually exploded on my 22nd birthday when my mind became awakened to 2 brand new values. 1, the fear that in 10 years' time I would have been 32. I would have, yes. And if I didn't take 2, personal responsibility immediately, I would be guaranteed to be starting another 10 years of unhappiness and misery. The fear of this reality of 10 more years, and by the way, it's been about 26 years since now. Wow. The fear of this reality of 10 more years or more, coupled with the awareness that only I could take responsibility to prevent this, gave me the clarity I needed. No one's going to make this decision for you. I learned that taking responsibility means to respond to my ability. If I give that responsibility to others, I'm empowering them to do what they want and what they like with my life. So when I had this clarity about these 2 new values, it was as if the sun came out and dispersed the fog of indecision and procrastination. Now I knew what I really wanted, or more to the point, what I didn't want. My new values now empowered me to act single-mindedly. However, it's important to note that despite making the clear commitment to leave, I still had a conflict of values going on, but these were now not powerful enough to override my top 2 values. If I had waited for all my values to align, I'd still be trapped today. What a thought. I left exhilarated by my honouring of my top 2 values, yet saddened by the conflicting values that I still had. For those healing and the coming to terms with those conflicts needed to take place. They took place over time, and they did. Watch the videos that I've recorded on healing in previous chapters in this book. The following lists, I'll read them to you, show my top this is all of course in the on the website, which you can read yourself if you want to. The link is there, as I said. The following lists show my top 10 values before and after my overriding decision to leave. Because they were personal to me, they may not make sense to you. But I'm just using that as an example of what mine were. Here they are before I escaped, in order. My top 10 values. Pleasing my parents was number 1. Family values was number 2. Then there was keeping the peace, friendships, freedom, liberation, which was a conflict of values. Prosperity, a conflict of values. Excitement, a conflict of values. People pleasing, a conflict. Curiosity, a conflict. And secrecy, a conflict of values. Now, when I escaped, my conflicts and values had changed. And it's only when I look back, I saw all this. And this is why I wrote this chapter, to tell you. And I've also, by the way, a qualified life coach, and I did these exercises in life coaching many years later, and it just put to me in a framework of how you can elicit and discover your values. And when you see them, and most people don't realise them fully at all, you can then think, flipping, like, I don't want that value, I don't value that, I don't want that. I can see that's leading me to restriction and restraint and clenching. I want values that are going to make me free, and so you can change them when you know what they are. And this is what this is all about, finding out and knowing what they are. So my 10 values and conflicts when I escaped changed. Number 1 became, actually, it was fear. It was fear of 10 more years of unhappiness. Man, that was a powerful value. It really was. And I'll tell you what, it was a good one as well. Number 2 was I valued responsibility. My life is down to me. I also still valued pleasing my parents. That was still a massive conflict of values. I still valued that. Excitement was of my value. Self-respect, freedom and liberation, curiosity. Family values, that was still a conflict of values. People pleasing was still a conflict of values, and friendships still a conflict of values. If you feel it would help you, make 2 lists. One with your top 10 values at the moment, then next to it a list that would include values that would give you the motivation to make the decision to leave. Remember the question before: what one reason of highest value to you would tip you into making a commitment to yourself right now, one way or another? Can you see it? This exercise is not a science, but it can be a massive help in understanding ourselves and our motivations. In an ideal situation, a person could change all 10 values with no conflicts. This would give them every reason to leave their situation with the minimum of difficulty and stress and pain, heartache. For those who have that, for those who have what I had, still a conflict in some of their values, it makes leaving still a potentially difficult challenge, which it certainly was. Anyway, however, to get to a tipping point and actually make that decision to leave, your revised new values have to become more important to you than the previous ones, obviously. As Tony Robbins states, you can't always control the wind, but you can control your sails. My new values were powerful enough to overcome the pain of leaving my parents and all the people I knew, including the indoctrination and pleasing God under the exclusive brethren laws. Just want to say at this point, although I left, I didn't leave my parents, I left the exclusive brethren controlling system. It was their laws that controlled my parents and all my friends and family in cutting me off completely. So I didn't leave to be separated from them. My front door was and is completely wide open to come round. Tea, coffee, cappuccino or latte, what would you like? Come round. I might have some biscuits for you as well. I'm not separating myself from you, but you have been following your leader, who, like all the other cults, have separated you from your family, who have left the cult, left the religion that you still believe in. And there's over 1,000 cults, almost 1,000 cults in the UK. You're not the only one this applies to. So consider this a reality check. No, I just missed this bit, the paragraph. If you are unhappy yet not sure that you should break free and escape your situation, I suggest it is simply that your value of staying is at the moment greater than your value of being free from your past and your present. And that's okay, in as much as by realizing it, if you realize that your values at the moment are, it's more important than you stay, that you stay, then stay. Stay and reassess your values in 6 months' time. It's just a suggestion. Moving on. Consider this reality check. In 10 years' time, you will be 10 years older and maybe 10 years longer in a controlled, smothering, disrespecting your free will environment. Yes, the people may be sincere, but how about you being sincere with yourself? I came to the place of valuing my free will higher than submitting to those who insisted they control and abuse it. In other words, if you realize you are unhappy, failing to keep others' rules and laws, then be honest with yourself. Go. You might just find, as I did, that God isn't a law-wielding, rule-demanding, regulation-changing, strict disciplinarian that many poor controlled souls are being coercively controlled into yielding to right now. You might even find that God actually loves everyone unconditionally. Imagine that. Being true to the new values that I realised, and looking back now, I can clearly see that it was one of the best things I've done in my life. If on the other hand you feel at this time that your values in staying are more powerful than your values to leave, then why not commit yourself to staying for now? Sometimes it is about choosing the right time for you. Maybe if you leave, your family will stay and there will be a family split. Accept your situation, at least for now. You can always revisit this values exercise in the future. I went on a waffle, didn't I? And I shouldn't have done. I should have just read what the book says. I'm repeating it now. I'm almost finished. You still listening? I'm impressed. Keep on searching and you will find where there is a will, there's a way. Lastly, if you have come to that place of a decision to leave, don't do it alone. You are not alone. There are many resources and people that can really help you, and where you will be able to talk to people. Have a look at the help page at the website below. I'll put the help page link under the this chapter's link as well. And on that help page, have a look at it and take courage. There's more to life than being controlled. It's called freedom. And that is the end of chapter 23 of Cult Escape, on how to escape the cult you are in. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to subscribe to this channel, feel free to. If you'd like to make a comment about how you escaped, which would encourage others, feel free. If you've got any questions, write them in the comments and we'll have a discussion which other people can join into. But I recommend doing the value elicitation exercise to see what they are. To see what they are at the moment. And then just consider what your life could be if you changed your values. Give it a go.